Hi everybody, I'm Andrew Locke. Thank you for watching another episode of Gaffer and Gear. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at the Aputure double yoke system for their Nova P600Cs. So we're going to go through the cons and I'm going to answer that question. Is there any point in having a double system like this as opposed to just using a light that's twice as bright? Okay, so a quick review is a good review. So this double yoke system sells for $350 US. That's about 540 Australian dollars. All right, so to remove the light from the standard yoke, you just undo the two screws that are at this end and the two screws that are at this end, and then take the light out and use those same screws to then screw the light into the yoke here. But there is one thing that caught me out. I was expecting these screws to use a standard Allen key or maybe a flathead or Phillips head screwdriver, but they don't. Instead, they use a Torx T25. Now that's one of those keys with the fancy star shape at the end. Now that's not difficult to find, but it's not common in toolkits. So just make sure you've got one before you invest in the system, otherwise you might look like a bit of an idiot. All right, so let's go through the build quality. It's all metal, with the exception of the decorative plastic caps here, but yeah, it's all metal. All the way through here is all metal. It's very strong and can take the weight of the lights, no problem at all. So in terms of the weight, with the two lights and the stirrup, I weighed it in at 28.6 kilograms. Now to give you some idea of how heavy that is, most wind-up stands have a rating of 30 kilograms. So you're pretty close to maxing out a wind-up stand. All right, so you definitely don't want to be using a push-up. And one thing to consider is if you're working by yourself, you might want to assemble it on your light stand. You probably don't want to assemble it on the ground and then try and lift up that heavy weight onto the stand. But if you do have it assembled and you're putting it onto the stand, one little touch that I like is it has a big rubber bush here. So when you're lowering it down, when you get to about this point here, your arms start to give out and you might end up dropping it. So if you do that, the rubber bush here absorbs the impact, so you're not smashing and jamming your lights and your electronics. All right, so let's go through the cons now, and I've only got the one, but it's a doozy. All right, so maybe you own two of these Nova 600s, you wish you had a bigger light that you could stick up high on a light stand, point down and light a large area. Well, here's the problem that you're going to encounter. All right, so if you tilt the bottom one down, that's no problem. But if you tilt the top one down, well now the bottom one masks half the light that you get from the top one. And vice versa, if you want to tilt them both up, the top one, that's no problem, but the bottom one, that's now getting masked by the light up above. So that is the only negative I can see with it. All right, so let's have a look at what is the big pro for this system, and that is the fact that the lights can tilt in different directions. All right, so what advantage does that have? Well, it can give you a massive vertical spread. All right, so take this studio setup, for example. This is a studio I work in a lot, and when I light this green screen, I do it with two sky panels or two Novas. So I just have one light on either side of the set on a light stand at about half the height of the wall, just bashing out there. Now, if that wall was double the height, I could take a similar approach with something like this. All right, but here's the advantage that this has got. All right, so if this was just a light that was twice as powerful, it would just be bashing all the light forward and it wouldn't give me an even light over that wall. But because I can point the lights in different directions, I can point the top light up, point the bottom light down. And of course, this is assuming that I've got the light on a light stand halfway up the wall, or at a height halfway up the wall. And I could use the spill light from both lights at this point to light the center. Okay, so this is lighting the top, that's lighting the bottom, and the combined spill light is lighting through the center. Now, this isn't the best example in the world here because I'm less than a hand span off this wall. If I was doing this for real, this would be about 5 meters back, okay, at least. So in that situation, this could come in really handy for lighting a big cyc wall. And to give you some idea here of the spread that I've got on these, you see I've got pretty much nothing facing the front. There's just the spill light coming out of the two. So that gives you, a massive ability to light a large wall. Now, alternatively, you could have one of them pointing, say, at the bottom of the wall and one of them pointing at the top of the wall and have them set to different brightness values. Or if you had it rigged up the other way, so it was in studio lighting grid, you could have the top one pointing at the top of the wall and the bottom one pointing further down the wall and have them at different brightness values. So that's where I think this double yoke system could come in really handy, is lighting cycs, lighting large cyc walls. Now here's another situation where I think having this double system could be an advantage over having just, say, one big panel light, and that is in studio again. So I might have a 12 by 12 about here, have my lights this far back, because I've got a studio wall right here. I can't get the lights back far enough, or I can't get a single light back far enough to light up that diffusion frame. I need multiple lights in close. Now, usually when that happens, the lights in the diffuser frame are on an angle to the wall, which limits me from getting multiple light stands in. But that wouldn't be a problem with this system, because just using the one light stand, I can have both lamp heads or both lights pointing in slightly different tilts to give me an even distribution over that diffuser. Now, apart from those two situations, I really can't see where having a double system would be an advantage over just having one big panel. Okay, but look, I encourage Aputure to keep making accessories like this, because even though it's not going to be a big seller for them, I think it's important to do, because if you're going to be a serious player and you want to compete with people like, say, Ari, you need to have accessories like this, because even though you're not going to sell a heap of these, that gaffer that's going to buy 10 of these, he's probably that gaffer that's going to buy 500 panels. So you need accessories, it's not just the lights. All right, see you on the next episode of Gaffer and Gear.